Markets Coalition February studio. We're so happy to see you. And Janique, official new member, even though we've known you for months and months by now. Welcome. And Justin, we will give, as usual, a one more minute before we get started. Thank you so much for being here. Robbie, hi. It's it never gets old to see the familiar names and faces in the screen. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so we're gonna get started. As we see folks come in, welcome, welcome. Manuel and Julia will manage the chat room for us. We're going to start. I hope this works, but then if it doesn't, I have a backup plan. We're going to start with Well, welcome to our session. We're naming Harnessing the Power of Possibilities for Farmers Markets in Turbulent Times. This is the second session of February studio of World Farmers Markets Coalition. We're going to start with our video. This is a classic video of introduction of us.
Farmers markets are among the oldest institutions in human history. For thousands of years, they have facilitated commerce and community between town and country. By enabling farmers to sell the fruits of their labor directly to shoppers. Today, new leaders are reinventing this ancient concept and introducing new measures of success to meet new challenges. Food access, behavior change, and business incubation. Successful 21st century farmers markets provide farmers with initial points of distribution. Consumers gain access to fresh, healthy, and local foods directly from the people who harvest them. And the town centers gain safe, animated public spaces for all to enjoy. When these three components come together, everyone wins. Farmers, consumers, and communities. But there's more. With so many people losing faith in society, farmers markets build trust and bring transparency back to the food system. To learn more about the World Farmers Market Coalition, log on to www.worldfarmersmarketcoalition.org. To get involved, visit your market. Chances are there is one near you. And if there isn't, let's change that.
It worked this time. I am Robin Moon. For those who have not yet met me, I am with the World Farmers Markets Coalition Secretariat here in New York City, but sometimes in Rome. I am here to facilitate our conversation. If you have come to our other studios, you will see that this is a little different today. We usually have, a conversationist or a panelist picked out with some kind of presentation before we get into the conversation with the audience. And we never have enough time to do that. And in the past couple of months, especially, there are always things happening in the world, often not so great things, and often things that impact us, in a negative way. It feels, however, it's intensified for, with a lot of things coming together for all of us. We are doing a little experiment, and it seemed to have gone well earlier in the earlier session. We're going to offer this time just to have a conversation with all of you on topics loosely on the role of farmers markets in this critical time. quickly, as usual, I'm going to go over our community agreements. We thank you for being here again to spend your precious 1 hour with us. And we will be present in the time that we're together and stay engaged. And we will welcome and honor multiple and different viewpoints, of course, because we represent the world. And we will hold our judgments and disagreements softly because they will happen, I guarantee you. We trust everybody's intent in speaking their truth, and at the same time acknowledge the impact that it might land differently on us. We will listen to learn, ask questions to understand better. We will make space for other people and yet take our own space when necessary. And to honor everybody's equal chances of speaking, we will think in sentences and not paragraphs. And today, an extra one, the ground rule that I want to add, we will talk about our assets, not deficits. We're going to talk about what we have that we can celebrate and build upon, and as a farmers markets community, that is the goal of this conversation today. We will. So the session objectives, we acknowledge together our collective and global turbulent and critical times. And you can guess, coming from the US, I'm probably talking about the political aspect, but there are also, wildfires, there's, extreme cold waves and heat waves and, migrants, refugees, and there are many other things that are happening all at the same time. We will discuss why this matters to us. Why are we talking about it here in this space? What is our role as farmers markets in our community? And lastly, to focus our intention to practice hope and reimagine possibilities. I've been saying to, those other colleagues and friends that I talk to, that hope to me as a verb is not a feeling, and it is a decision. It is a practice I decide to do every day, because what's so hard about having hope when everything is going so well? So I am channeling in my practice of hope, and I hope that you will do it with me today. Um, to frame our conversation, I just want to briefly introduce or reintroduce for those who already know Dr. Amartya Sen. He is an Indian economist, still alive, and he got his Nobel Prize in economics in 1998, talking about famines and poverty. And freedom. So I'm just going to read just a little bit together with you. He said the famines are often more a result of problems with food distribution rather than a simple lack of food overall. I think that this sounds familiar to all us, meaning that even when there is enough food available, certain groups may not have the means to access it due to unequal distribution systems, economic factors, or social inequalities. And one of his theses was the Bengal famine. Bengal, that's the current day Bangladesh, the post British colonial regime in 1943. He argued that this was a problem, not because we didn't have enough food. It's the system that prevented many people from accessing available food supplies due to factors like price hikes, limited access to markets, things like that. Again, this sounds familiar to us. Just recently, IPES Food also published a paper that Julia or Manuel will drop in the chat on exactly this. And while famine is an extreme form of food insecurity, we face, as farmers markets people, we face food insecurity in our community every day, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And this is something that I wanted to just bring back to our attention. And this also is very linked to another slide. So just one of many quotes by Dr. Sen. No substantial famine has ever occurred in any independent and democratic country with a relatively free press. Thinking about that for a second. And another things he said, and this is very much linked to the mission of World Farmers Markets Coalition. I'm not saying that we built, we founded upon his idea only, but this is very much integrated. Poverty is a lack of freedom and of basic capabilities. It's which are the freedoms to make are needed to make choices. So it's the access to opportunities, it's the political rights, it's the economic protections, and development requires more than just increasing incomes, and it includes social and economic reforms, and development is freedom. And here at the coalition, we consider developing people's capabilities, or sometimes we say capacity buildings, and that is a critical necessity for us to go towards freedom. And this also goes kind of directly against what the trend of the world tells us. For example, develop in scale, scale up, multinational, globalize, go really big, go big or go home. But what we are saying is kind of the opposite. We're going for local, hyper local, import substitution. And for those who have read our newsletter, Richard McCarthy, our president's article in the newsletter, we're talking about the kind of things that the current day world is um, saying no to, and that is the community we're trying to build. Um, just with that, so yeah, so these are the things we'd like to focus today. Farmers market is an asset. It is our community asset. In what ways? Economic opportunities and value. Um, just as importantly, possibly more importantly, social connection and safety. Environmental value, we could talk about that for a whole day. And our role in community health, that is beyond nutrition and calories. Our role in building community resilience. The resilience is a dirty word here, but we know we have it. So these are the things that I personally need a reminder. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing screen. That we have, and to share, um, acknowledge what we might be going through. It doesn't need to be just challenges, but also what's been going well, and what we can remind ourselves as to what we've done before, and we can do it again. I'm just gonna open the floor for anybody who wants. I would love to see any hands up, and I'm happy to call on you. Um, what's going on in your community? I am very comfortable with silence. I can sit here for a while.
Hey y'all, it's Kara May from California.
Hi.
Hi, it's so great to be here with everyone in holding this space, and I do really appreciate the opportunity for us just to talk to each other. I normally like overthink what I like to say, but I also don't like silence, so I just wanted to get it started and acknowledge the dumpster fire that is the United States of America's government right now. That's just how I feel about it. It's really uh inciting a lot of fear and anxiety and confusion. And in some ways, folks on the ground feel like that is actually a tactic to confuse, overwhelm, and demotivate us. So being able to figure out how to practice self-care and also be part of the solution. And I think that looks different for a lot of folks. And for me, what it looks like is it brings me even more joy to work as the executive director of the Napa Farmers Market, which is a space that we all know farmers markets are third spaces where communities gather. That's not their home or their work, and we can all come together. So In some ways, I'm optimism is one of my character skills and traits. So, and also I also practice acceptance. We have to sort of accept some of the things that are happening. We don't have to like them. We don't have to agree with them. However, it creates an opportunity to bring people in to our circle, to give them something to do in their own communities, like supporting the farmers market, making sure it's thriving, donating, being involved, talking to each other. So, yeah, but it's wild.
Jeremy, thank you. Thank you so much for your courage and boldness to get us going. Well, I don't know about you, but in my neck of woods, I can't find the eggs anywhere. Or if you do, it's like $20. Okay, not quite 20. It's very expensive. Um, I think it's going to, it doesn't take an economic genius to predict that the grocery items will be even more expensive very soon. We have some Canadians here. We are still your friends. Um, any opportunities do we see? Justin, just the person I was thinking to pick on.
Hi, everybody. Justin Gantafio here on the Atlantic coast of Canada in Nova Scotia, McMuggy, Turtle Island. There is an opportunity, I think, where we live. I mean, obviously, with the looming threat of a trade war is always scary. We are, the little brother with the big brother's foot on our neck. It might be playful for big brother. It's not so fun for us. But I think there are opportunities here. I think there's going to be a very subtle differentiation that's very important between patriotism and nationalism, and tribalism, and us versus them. And I am not interested in leveraging the buy Canada, screw United States rhetoric that's happening in where I live. Instead, embracing the practical and heartfelt sensibility of community. And we have the ability as a global community of practice of demonstrating that in real time. All of us here are rooted in community, but unified globally in our values. And that makes us stronger. It makes what we do regionally stronger. That being said, there's a practical opportunity here, I think. I mean, relocalization is so important. Getting rid of trade redundancies is important. Leveraging local food systems as embedded local food infrastructure that is community-based is important. And having more community-based, community-owned and operated infrastructure and third places for food distribution instead of corporately controlled, oligarchically controlled is important. And it's been interesting in Nova Scotia. We are a conservative supermajority. In the history of our province, we have never had a more conservative government. And our province is one of the oldest in Canada. And yet the budget that was announced yesterday includes what appears to be the largest ever investment in buy local programming in the history. Now, obviously, that's for a whole bunch of different reasons, and it's called Nova Scotia Loyal, and I don't like the way that sounds. But it's a great opportunity. It's going to pay tremendous dividends for us. We have a program that's expanding this year where every single student, public school student, post-secondary education student, and new Canadian through the Immigrant Settlement Services Association of Nova Scotia is receiving a $10 voucher that can be used only at farmers markets. So that's $2 million in alternative currency in circulation. That's just one opportunity here, but I think every challenge is a veiled opportunity, and I think we need to present it that way. And like you said at the start, these are assets. So I'll say that's what's going on here.
Thank you. I love you so much. I already feel a million times better, and I want all Canadians to know that when our abusive parent puts their foot on your neck, I have a vicarious trauma. This is really, really, really upsetting for all of us, and we feel like we can't really do anything about it at this moment today. But together we will. Thank you and sorry. Christy, hi.
And I just want to build on what Justin was saying a little bit in terms of this being an opportunity. And I think it's an opportunity in Canada. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Christy Daniel. I'm the director of the Livable Cities program for Healthbridge. So I don't run a farmer's market, and most of my work is in Asia and Africa, but I have a vested interest as a Canadian and as a North American for what's going on in our neighborhood. But I think it's an opportunity for both countries actually to really begin to see things a little bit differently. So I think there's this idea that this is how things always are, and so this is how things always should be. And instead, I think there's a chance now to have us maybe talk to some farmers who aren't part of the farmers market, but to say, hey, there's an opportunity here. People are really interested in coming together and buying locally. Maybe instead of having your big monoculture farm, maybe there's an opportunity for you to have a piece of this buy local movement. I'm always really so impressed with the grains program that they did out of New York City with bringing together, encouraging the growing of the heritage grains, but really building that from the ground up. So working with the processors, working with the bakers, working with the growers, like making sure that the ecosystem was there to support that. And I see there being a real opportunity for the people in this community to then support that training and that education and that reimagining what our food systems could be. It has been my sense, especially as a Canadian, that our food security has always been vulnerable because we do get so much of our food from the United States. And if there was any sort of conflict, that could potentially create a food insecurity. So maybe this is a real opportunity to start sort of bringing that together. So that's kind of how I've been imagining it for a little while now. But I think it's an opportunity not just for Canada, but I think for other countries as well to start to say, hey, like let's really make sure that our local communities are strong and that everyone within that community is really benefiting. So
100%. Thank you so much, Christy. Just so others know, Christy might not be running farmers markets, but great number of Christy's partners are members of World Farmers Markets Coalition precisely because of the introduction that Christy has made. We're so glad to see you here. Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hey everybody, nice to see you all.
I love all the Canadians talking.
Well, Canadians have a lot to say these days. Politely. So I'm so happy, I'm Heather with BC Farmers Market. So I'm on the Pacific Coast, right on the exact opposite side of my friend Justin Cantafio in Nova Scotia. So I think just to build on the comments already, a few things are resonating for me. So I'm an optimist too, like Kara May. Not to say I'm a realist, but I'm also an optimist. And I think that a couple things. For me, what is, at least from the Canadian perspective, the situation is reminding me how important alternative economies are. How that one size fits all model of industrial scale food chain, the food system is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like the fact that farmers markets represent an alternative economy, a local economy, an underground economy, if you will, a bit of a unique economy, is paramount in these situations. So there's an opportunity for us to leverage that, obviously, but also just how we do business in terms of, a lot of our industrial economies are built on resource, at least in Canada. We export a lot of resources, but we don't do a lot of value add. And COVID, now followed up with US trade tariff crisis, is now a reckoning in terms of when some Canadian jurisdictions chose to discontinue their food processing, get rid of it, offshore it, outsource it. It left us in a vulnerable position. And this is a reminder how important it is to have the entire value chain of food production growing through processing and not rely on a one, only exporting raw materials or foods and not being able to process them in our country for consumption. So, it's forcing our country to really challenge what our practices have been, frankly. So it's for me, it's a huge wake up call, and necessity is the mother of invention. So anyways, enough said. So
Thank you so much, Heather. I couldn't agree with you more. And Yulitsa, I see your hand up. Just a quick comment before we go to Yulitsa. We say or at least in the US, as a public health person, I spent a lot of time, working on health system, public health and healthcare system in the US. And the ongoing saying that people love saying, we build the airplane as we fly, and as if it's a good thing. We say that all the time. And of course, all this bombardment of things being discontinued overnight, like there are a lot to worry about, and that's sort of the point of doing that, is so that we worry about it and like we are drowning in worries. I started thinking like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be building airplane as we're flying. maybe there are different ways of doing things. I'm channeling in all that's been said so far already. And it's hard to see the opportunities, but I celebrate our spirit of really looking at the opportunities and imagining new possibilities. I appreciate it so much. Yulitsa, hey. You look like you're making something.
Yes, I'm making passion fruit juice.
Ah.
Yes, I don't know if you all know, but I am a farmers market manager and I'm also a producer. So I can tell you that these times are very, very, very overwhelming. Like we produce eggs with a partner, and they go out like in 10 minutes. So it's very, very amazing, the situation. I think we have to work a lot in the emotional part and see this transition as something necessary to get to something better, because the way the food system has been working, we all know that it doesn't really work. I totally agree with the quotes that you presented about the distribution of food. That's something in this little island that's like 100 miles times 35 miles. You can see so much distribution of food just like not being going towards the person that needs it, even in the farmers market. I have like a lot of stories that I can tell and that we live all the time. As far as I can say, last week I was in a government training, and it was about the FSMA, is the Food Modernization Act, and it's really interesting and kind of sad because a lot of our farmers will never be able to comply with all these government rules. And at least here in the island, we don't have anything as a cottage law, or this like laws that there also exist in Europe. So I think we as a farmers market are going to support all that political work to go towards that, because a lot of I was in that training, and I mean I studied environmental health, so have a little bit of more knowledge of how things work and how the government is not working towards like preventive, about at least they're not talking anything about microplastics, for example. They're stuck with the microorganisms. So I could see like a lot of people just like with their very worried faces, like, oh my God, like I cannot do what I'm doing. I'm like against the law completely. And that's very sad because it's like the opposite of the time. Like we need more people producing, and but it's very difficult when you have the government on top of you saying you have to do things this way and pay us to tell you what to do and how to do it. So that's basically our position right now. But yes, it's a very overwhelming time, and it's For me, I've been having to like tell a lot of my customers, like I think emotional support, because there's a lot of people afraid. I don't know if it's because they see too much news, or what, but yeah, there's a lot of fear going on, and but anyways, in the market, it feels pretty good. The environment, it's like a very important community base for everybody. So that.
Yulitsa, thank you. And I'm really sorry to hear the um predicament that you're up against. But you also give me a great segue to talk about the role of farmers market for our community building, social connection. We see time and time again when there's a massive, natural or human-made or whatever disasters, farmers markets often are that most nimble entity that opens and that brings people together, and that carries on the hope and the light in the darkness. I want us to maybe focus a little bit on that. Richard, you're here. Hi. When I first met Richard McCarthy in 2005, 6, right after Hurricane Katrina, it was that was my first time ever doing anything farmers market, and it was the most amazing thing I had seen. Like, oh, there's this thing that I was not part of in that time of my life. And I saw it was so much about the community building that I saw the farmers markets was contributing to the society. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like and what role you saw, the visceral role that the farmers markets played?
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Robin. It's funny when I look out and I listen to Yulitsa, I am immediately brought back to the tyranny of every 6 months worried about the hurricane season and what will happen to us next. Having operated and lived and grown up in the most northernmost Caribbean city of New Orleans, we know how real that is. We also know how real is the economic and political environments in which we operate. And I think everyone has really articulated it very well, just how emotionally invested we are in the institutions we build. Because these institutions we are building are not brick and mortar institutions, they are the social fabric of communities. And we know how people experience the goodness, even if we're overwhelmed with the darkness that hits us. I think it speaks to something that in particular Karameh said at the very beginning, which is how disciplined we are and how disciplined we need to be. We know that farmers markets are not, the end, the answer. They are a critical means to rebuild sense of ties, trust, hope. And they work because they are experiential. They're not propaganda mouthpiece so much as this is what we experience. And by experiencing it, we feel that warmth. We feel the love that exists in it while all the commerce is being conducted. This is something that we felt in 2005 when it took us 10 weeks to restart our farmers markets because of flood. I look on with great fear when I see what the impact of fire can be. Longtime colleague in Japan worked on the issue of what does it mean when a tsunami hits. Trauma is everywhere. It's increasingly everywhere. And yet the sea of calm and warmth tends to be these farmers markets. And that's what we found when we restarted our market. We learned that it was the happiest part of people's weekly lives. They would stop gutting their houses, stop fighting with insurance companies, stop worrying about whether they had a job, and would come to the market to purchase, undoubtedly to purchase products, better products they could find anywhere else, at the time in New Orleans, eggs was not the concern. It was you couldn't find butter. It's funny when you see what the infrastructure collapses are and what those critical indicators are. But really why they stuck around was because we had massage therapy and live music and picnics and storytelling and opportunities for people to rediscover the reason why they live in a place, why they hold on and defend that place. And so we began to think of the market as more than a market. And this is something that I think in particular, I heard in Heather, your comment about how do we pivot when the political environment changes? And how do we speak about what we're doing? Do we have clear language to describe that in particular, we are more than a place of commerce. We are a public asset. We are a community building platform. We're a learning platform. Because if we do a lot of the work in advance of when the next crisis hits and we have to pivot, whether it's because of political or civil war or natural disaster or unnatural disaster, knowing how to be that agile, that nimble player that Robin described at the very beginning does speak to the work that is at the core, our disciplined work of maintaining the pluralism, the openness, so that even if all the other institutions in our lives are collapsing, we hold true because we are driven by a set of values.
Thank you so much, Richard. Darlene, hi.
Hey, good midday here, but I just wanted to piggyback on what Richard said. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so it's just an hour from New Orleans that he was describing, and hurricanes and natural disasters are a constant concern. And so I've probably talked with several of you about kind of the same theory myself, is that I think that we as an organization always focus so much when looking for support on, the economic opportunities we give to farmers. And this is going to sound a bit harsh, but I think it's true. I think there's a lot of people that care about supporting farmers. There's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that care about giving food access to vulnerable populations, and there's a lot of people that don't. But I think what everybody can get behind is having a vibrant community and a gathering place that brings their community. Everybody wants to be able to participate in that. And I always think it's so interesting, especially at our farmers markets, and I think at many, primarily the vendors and farmers themselves are very conservative, and the shoppers on the average are very liberal. And so it's one of those few spaces that are actually left where those two groups are coming together naturally, not forced, but naturally coming together and sort of putting that aside and coming together around this common love of food and community. And so we specifically keep politics out of our market just because of that reason, because we've been told by people, how important it is to have that safe space that you can go. And whether it's after a hurricane, as Richard said, when it's so important to be able to have that mutual aid space and community building. But really through COVID, I think here was for us specifically, I know everyone around the world had a lot of different challenges and barriers. But we, we're fortunate that we did not close ever. We pivoted to a drive-through farmers market. And we have like a video that we made after that. I have farmers, direct to camera who say that opportunity literally saved their farming operation because, of course, all of their restaurant business was gone. And so being able to have those direct sales, but also the community, what did everybody want during COVID? They wanted access to the freshest food. They wanted an open air environment, and they wanted some connection to other human beings. And so it was like, hey, public, that's our entire mission. Like, that's all of it together. So I think it's finding the places and spaces where you can communicate those things as people want to create these spaces, and they just naturally happen at the farmers market. And I think it's the beauty that so many things happen at once. You may be a nonprofit that just works on healthcare. economic development or mental health, and like the work that all of us do touch all of those spaces. And so it's so encompassing to every kind of aspect of what you want your community to be. So I think we have to really remind ourselves of that, all the different things we're accomplishing at one time by bringing this market together.
Darlene, that's an incredible insight. Charles, I see your hand. Thank you. I was actually going to go to Lebanon next. I was looking at you, Aline, and Joseph. So perfect. But before I go there, thank you for naming the, not necessarily the most comfortable thing to say, Darlene, but that's really exactly what this community is. It's, I'm just going to call it like, it's like anti-othering. We bring people together without condition for the reasons and needs that we have in the community. And that's what we see at the farmers market. And so many things that are happening right now so rapidly. Well, rapidly because they don't want, they want the confusion. Also, they want to break this very community, the very social fabric that we have. Why do they try to break it actively? Because they know and fear the power of it. And that's the importance of farmers markets we have. But Charles, I will go to you next. I want to hear about, I want everybody here to hear about Lebanon. Hi.
Yes, hello. I'm Charles. I'm from Lebanon. I'm a producer and recently working to be a farmers market manager, managing one of our first market, let's say, that is in Badaro. We faced in Lebanon, let's say, I'm talking as a producer and as well as someone who participated for the last year in the market. We faced in Lebanon since 2019 a very serious economic crisis where the inflation went crazy, where everything went crazy, where we had a food security problem and everything else. And then in 2020, we got hit by COVID. And then in August 2020, we got hit by an explosion that no one knows what happened and destroyed half of the capital. So it was one crisis after another until we get to this year, and with the events, political events, and the war that happened. So we got a pretty difficult 5 years, let's say, for at least 4 million people. But when you go to the farmers market, it's a different thing. During the war, when there was when they were bombing Beirut, we tried not to close our market. One time we had to close because they bombed very close to us. So we said, for the safety of the producers and the safety of the guys coming, we have to close earlier. But we didn't close. And the faces of the, let's not call them customers, because now they are part of our community. They are a community right now without knowing it. They are a community. The faces of them when they see that we are open, and even sometimes we were with 9 producers. So it was a market that was losing money, that was not good. Like economically, it's not good. But when you see this community going to the market and sharing their experiences and talking about everything from politics to economics to lifestyle to everything without any boundaries, that gives a little bit of hope in the farmers market entity as itself. And I think by hearing the other side of the word's problem, that we all share the same problems but on a different scale. It's a war with weapons, or it's a war with dollars. So basically it's a war on all fronts. So I don't like to call it a resilience, but for the producers and for the community, it was a push. It was a really big push for us, especially after the ceasefire. It coincided a little bit the anniversary of the creation of the market and the ceasefire, they were 1 or 2 weeks difference. So that event gave a big boost for the market. We have a bigger community coming to the market every Sunday. And when there's a producer that's not here, everyone asks about him. Where is he? Is he there? When he will be there? So on a producer side point of view, it's a win-win situation because you always have a contact, either a human contact or a economical contact, let's say, with your clients, and when you can continue your life. And for the community, where they have a place where they can either lower their stress, let's talk about it, unite, get in groups, and buy fresh products and buy like trusted products, because yeah, they know every farmer, and when there's a new farmer, they ask every single question. Like every single client in our community should be ahead in the WFMC, because like they go into too strict detail. And that's wonderful to see that, and to see that we have a higher number of clients passing by, of customers passing by, of community. It's getting bigger and bigger. Since a month until now, we have at least 30 producers per market. That's like a high number for us. We have a lot of new people passing by, and like just hearing by, without any communication aids or anything, but just hearing from people around, like, oh, there's a farmer market there coming the first week, the second week, and the third week. So, and now we are opening a second market in Tripoli, that is the capital of the north, let's say, where we have a huge support, let's say, from the local community, from the political community, let's say, from the municipality, and from many NGOs that works there that are willing to collaborate to get producers to work with us at so many levels. So we feel that there's a need in the society, let's say, at the political level and at the societal level, at the poor people level, that they need this place to work, to have a community, because everyone in every place we go, even in my small village where I'm trying to have a farmer's market open in the summer, they all ask about, we need to create a community. We need people to come here and stay for a while and go and walk and see everything around. So in Tripoli also, and in Beirut also, so we always have this thing of a community, regardless everything. Or excuse my language, all the shit that's happening, all the shitstorm that's happening at right and left, because it's really unbearable here sometimes. But we all wait for the Sunday or the Saturday or the Friday when you go to the farmer's market, and at least you meet someone that's living the same thing, but coming to see you and getting happy. So I hope this, this is what I have to say. So thank you.
Charles, thank you so much, and thank you. It is so humbling, and it was like such a brutal reality check, and we're really in this together. I want to add one more dimension, yet one more dimension to your markets, Charles, and other Lebanese here. You also have refugees turned vendors. Talk about safety and talk about, acceptance and healing and economic opportunity that your market has created for those who come in from outside.
Exactly. Well, let's say in our market, we don't have this, we don't ask like the producer, where are you from? What is your nationality? What we ask, where are you from, to know geographically from where he's getting his product, but that's it. So yes, we have two producers that are Syrian refugees that are with us since a long time. They are well integrated into the whole community, let's say, not only in just like they come and people buy just one thing to say, he's a refugee. No, people do not think that he is a refugee. And let's say on a personal level, and I think all the guys with me in the association, I don't think we look behind the person. Like, we don't care if he has a good product, a local product, something innovative, something that's nice, something that's healthy. He's more than welcome, and we are proud to help him, of course, because this is our job in the end. He's part of the society, and we should be there to help. So that's it.
We have much to learn from you and your community. Thank you so much. Carlos, hola. What's going on in Peru?
Hola, ¿qué tal, Robin? ¿Cómo están? Saludos a todos. Bueno, como ustedes saben, nosotros Agroferias Campesinas está en el Perú. El Perú es un país que se caracteriza por la agricultura familiar. Quiere decir que las parcelas son muy, muy pequeñitas. Hablamos de 1 hectárea o 2 hectáreas. Eh, Cuando el gobierno debería tener toda la mirada en este grupo, casi más del 95% es agricultura familiar en nuestro país. Incluso el ministerio hace un tiempo se cambió de nombre y dejó de llamarse Ministerio de Agricultura y se llamó Ministerio de Agricultura Familiar. Sacó leyes y todo para ayudar a los pequeños productores, pero la verdad es que esto no se cumple, ¿no? Y realmente no hay una ayuda del gobierno. Hace poco estamos viviendo en el Perú una crisis por la sobreproducción de fruta en el norte del país, por el fenómeno del Niño, por los cambios climáticos. Entonces, muchos agricultores están perdiendo mucha mercadería porque no hay dónde vender ese producto. Y en las noticias continuamente están saliendo, oye, los agricultores están enterrando la fruta, están desesperados, ¿no? Y no reciben ningún tipo de ayuda. Nosotros como feria, a pesar de ser un movimiento muy pequeño, siempre hemos dicho que las ferias son una pequeña punta de lanza, se nos ocurrió una idea y fue que invitemos a esos productores que no tienen mercado para que los podamos dar una oportunidad de vender sus frutas. Y hace 2 semanas vino un camión de mangos y lograron vender 7.000 kilos o 7 toneladas, ¿no? Entonces fue muy impactante, salió en las noticias de cómo un grupo privado o pequeñito podía hacer algo de impacto y el gobierno no lo hacía, ¿no? Entonces, en unos días, el próximo fin de semana, ahora nos estamos atreviendo a traer otro camión más grande y con otra región de otro lugar para también seguir ayudando a los productores. Entonces, yo creo que hay mucha necesidad y que las ferias, además de vender productos, son ese actor de proponer algunas acciones a veces un poco locas, a veces ingeniosas, ¿no? Pero que tienen mucho impacto. Nosotros creemos que cuando se presentan problemas o dificultades, han sido una oportunidad para nosotros. Por ejemplo, cuando llegó la pandemia, nos cerraron y no nos permitieron hacer feria y nosotros tenemos en el Perú, cada 4 años hay un nuevo alcalde. Lo primero que hace el alcalde cuando llega a ser autoridad es querer cerrar las ferias, ¿no? Porque piensa que la feria le pertenece al anterior alcalde, piensa que es un tema político. Entonces, nosotros hace, hace unos años que llegó la pandemia, conversamos con el actual alcalde y le propusimos aliarnos con la comunidad y logramos un espacio muy simpático. Entonces, algo que nosotros hemos hecho es que la comunidad alberga a políticos de izquierda y a políticos de derecha. Todos son amigos en la comunidad porque nos hemos dado cuenta que la alimentación o los alimentos unen, ¿no? Entonces nosotros proponemos que el alimento saludable es un derecho de todos, que el alimento saludable es un derecho de todos, no es algo privado. Entonces, cuando el alcalde nos quiso sacar, nosotros no dijimos nada y nuestros mismos clientes, nuestros mismos visitantes nos defendieron y eso es algo importante que hemos logrado, de que la feria no nos pertenece, sino le pertenece a la ciudad, le pertenece a toda la comunidad. Y bueno, cada vez estamos esforzándonos por dejar las calles limpias, ordenadas. Hemos aprendido a que no tenemos que pedirle nada al gobierno. O sea, el gobierno o el Estado solamente nos da el espacio público. Nosotros ponemos policías, justo en el Perú estamos viviendo un tema de inseguridad y está saliendo en las noticias los robos, las extorsiones. Entonces, nosotros nos hemos organizado y hemos contratado policías privados. Entonces, nosotros siempre estamos un paso adelante a que suceda algo, ¿no? Entonces, la feria es un movimiento sostenible y tenemos equipos de seguridad, equipos de limpieza, de publicidad, etcétera. Y hemos aprendido a no darle trabajo al gobierno. El gobierno nos da el espacio y por ahí, ¿no? Entonces, eso es un poco lo que les quería compartir.
Thank you, Carlos, for your activism. and your leadership. We have so much to learn from you in how you turn these potential disasters into opportunities. And I see what's going on in the chat room. Paola, thank you for, you should first of all never apologize for not writing things in English. And we have many talented people here who understand you, and we can all get help. Thank you for sharing everything that is going on in the chat. Marina, we have 4 minutes.
Hello, everybody. Hola. Hola a todos. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi from Toronto and just share with everyone that I recently joined the City of Toronto as a city staff now in economic development to develop the public market action plan. And I think when I listen to all the issues that farmers are having in the rural areas and the markets happening in the municipalities, so in the cities, there's always that disconnection that we talk about, no? That disconnection between the needs of the cities and the needs of the province or the rural areas. And hopefully we can build some bridges here in Toronto between the region and the city and be an example for other municipalities that need to strengthen that relationship, because it's really hard when farmers come into the city to sell the produce, the much needed produce, but the policies in the city do not support urban and rural linkages. So that's what we're trying to do. And so hopefully we have some success and people can build on that. So I'm so honored of being in this network and listening to everybody that is sharing amazing stuff happening around the world.
Thank you, Maria. I remember now we had a conversation before. We met via Zoom before. Thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing what you just shared. In closing, oh my goodness, we could have another hour to talk about this. Let me see, Ana Maria, you wrote me. Okay, so you have 1 minute. I'm gonna give you 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I still don't know how to raise a hand. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to build what Carlos said, saying that this example is also being taken or recognized by some processes that are also going on here in Peru. I'm talking to you from Lima. And as I mentioned briefly on the chat of the group, we just had a workshop last week in which there's a sort of collaborative discussion on Hoja de Ruta, which is sort of a guide for the future of markets, sort of guideline that the government is going to publish. And they are taking this time. Initially, it was only for retail markets, but now they are taking also farmers markets, which is, I think, that can also lead to another discussion, which is something that actually happened in that meeting. But it's important because roadmap, yeah, thanks, Marina. And actually, and it was important that they were in that meeting because they were actually a very good example of all the things that we want to extrapolate sometimes for retail markets and wholesale markets. But they were the perfect example of how you can talk really about governance and there's participation, something that was raised also in the last meeting. How you can have a professional management as well, present in the market, which is actually something that is completely absent in the other models of retail markets and even wholesale markets, even if they manage larger volumes. And today they're participating in more than one process. Actually, today we are having another meeting, which I hope Carlos will be participating as well. And creating a civic collective on food policies. So all these experiences actually that you are sharing and that Carlos in particular is sharing are actually very important pieces for building not only the thinking about market systems and distribution systems, but also about food policies and how we can think about improving mechanisms for food supply and resilience in all the times that are coming.
Thank you so much, Ana Maria. I'm glad you caught the last moments to share that. That's also actually a nice segue to the closing. I know we're at the hour, 1 more minute. I think that your board members of the region will be in touch with all of you to continue this kind of conversation in the regional level, to learn more and build upon what you have been doing so that we can, 1 + 1 is not 2, but 4 and 5. In closing, I want to share one last thing. So, our US Surgeon General, who just left his office in January, published this thing called his final prescription for the country, for the US. And that was on our government, Health and Human Services website, but that has been taken down along with hundreds of other documents. So we're sharing the link of the announcement and the CNN news, and the link in that will not work. So we're also dropping the copy that I have already saved with you. And this is a prescription as a medical doctor to the country. So he's talking about, like hypertension, diabetes, but the entire document is about community building, trust building, love, service, and why that is directly linked to your health. So I encourage you to skim through it. There are some diagrams, and the font is really big, so it looks like many pages, but it goes really fast. At the end, there's this quote I would love to read together with you by John Lewis, who is one of our prominent civil rights leaders in the U.S. and U.S. congressman until he passed away in 2020. This is what he said. There is an old African proverb, when you pray, move your feet. As a nation, if we care for the beloved community, that is us, we must move our feet, our hands, our hearts, our resources to build and not to tear down, to reconcile and not to divide, to love and not to hate, to heal and not to kill. In the final analysis, we are one people, one family, one house. I want you to put, instead of American, World FMC here. The World FMC house, the World FMC family. We didn't exist pre-pandemic. Pandemic was really hard. I'm not wishing for another pandemic or anything like that, but if anything were to happen, we have one another. We have this organization and structure, our community, and I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you for being here today. I'm sorry we went over. We'll be in touch. Be well, be safe, be healthy wherever you are. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
So great to see everyone.
Ay, buenas
Thank you
tardes.
so much for
Ciao,
sharing.